Iran fires hundreds of rockets into the city of Tel Aviv in Israel. Is it hyperbolic to say that this might be the start of World War III? Let's talk about it. So we'll put this up on the screen here. This is from our friends at Ground News. It says that Iran launched nearly 200 ballistic missiles at Israel today, with dozens impacting various locations across the country. This attack followed the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and other officials, prompting retaliation from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is the IRGC. Israeli authorities reported one death, a Palestinian man in the West Bank who was hit by shrapnel, and minimal injuries among Israeli civilians. The missile barrage triggered widespread evacuations and sent millions of Israelis into bomb shelters, but the IRGC warned Israel against retaliation. The Israeli Defense Force spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, stated that we have plans and we will act in a time and a place that we choose, signaling a potential response to the attacks. So as you can see from this video here, this is rocket fire that's happening all across Israel in Tel Aviv, where Iran was shooting missiles at Mossad targets and different military installations. You can kind of see all the different rockets making impact with the ground. And in the second video, the second half of that video, there was a journalist basically saying, we need to get inside, we need to find cover. So this is like kind of in real time what you could see if you were in Tel Aviv when these strikes were coming in. This is the response from Iran. We'll put this up on the screen. This is from their mission to the UN, saying that Iran's legal, rational, and legitimate response to the terrorist acts of the Zionist regime, which involved targeting Iranian nationals and interests and infringing upon the national sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran, has been duly carried out. Should the Zionist regime dare to respond or commit further acts of malevolence, a subsequent and crushing response will ensue. Regional states and the Zionist supporters are advised to part way with the regime. So first, my initial response here before we get into a little bit more. It seems as though Iran was only targeting military installations, Mossad headquarters. So it doesn't seem like they were targeting any civilians. It looks like only one person kind of died from shrapnel. I want to just say I'm against targeting of civilians across the board, whether it's Iran doing it, Israel doing it, anyone doing it. So I'm glad that there was obviously no civilians being harmed in this. And I also wanted to say that this was supposed to be a retaliation as far as Iran was concerned for a multitude of reasons. One, the recent attack on Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, who was killed by Israel in airstrikes within Beirut, Lebanon, earlier a week or so ago. And also the attack that happened in Tehran. Israel had actually killed the leader of, or the political leader of Hamas inside the capital of Tehran with a bombing. And Iran never retaliated for that and said that as long as there was a ceasefire deal that came into place between Israel and Gaza, that they would not retaliate for Israel bombing in a building in the capital city of Iran. And so that ceasefire deal fell through. Nothing ever happened. And so Iran, seeing what happened to Nasrallah, and as well as the attack that happened previously, this was their response for that, where again, they didn't target any civilians. But nevertheless, if you watch Western media, they, didn't seem to acknowledge that whatsoever, here in the United States. But with all that being said, I'm sure that Iran also felt some pressure to do something, given the speech that Benjamin Netanyahu gave recently addressing the people of Iran. The clip's a little bit long, so we kind of shortened it up, but it's still about a minute long. Here's the clip of that video. We'll talk about it on the other side.
A lot about the leaders of Iran. Yet at this pivotal moment, I want to address you, the people of Iran. I want to do so directly, without filters, without middlemen. Every day, you see a regime that subjugates you make fiery speeches about defending Lebanon, defending Gaza. Yet every day, that regime plunges our region deeper into darkness and deeper into war. Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Muhammad Def. Ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. Our two countries, Israel and Iran, will be at peace.
For those who don't know, it seems as though, from a lot of people who've been following the situation closely, Benjamin Netanyahu has done everything to undercut peace when it comes to the hostage deals that were presented by both the US and by, Hamas and by other mediators involved in all of this. They said that under no circumstances would they stop their assaults on Gaza, even that's what everyone was asking for when it came to creating a ceasefire deal with Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu has been a person who has been under a lot of scrutiny even before October 7th within his own country. People have been trying to oust him. He is not a popular figure in the nation of Israel right now, and people have been calling for him to resign, and he has felt, according to multiple sources, that the way that he was going to stay in power was to create this larger conflict. And he's done everything in his power to kind of push the levers where he could in order to make that a reality. And now it does seem as though we are getting that reality. And so while I hope this doesn't lead to war, it feels like many in our government unfortunately do, and maybe for particular financial reasons. We'll put this up on the screen here. This is from Sludge saying that defense contractors stocks are surging today on the news of Iran launching missiles at Israel. Among those profiting, the dozens of members of Congress who own stocks in defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, RTX, and Northrop Grumman. Now, as it's probably well known at this point, money in politics is a massive problem. War profiteering is a massive problem. The defense industry gets hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. Those numbers seem to consistently go up. It's the one bipartisan thing that Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on is increasing that budget year over year. There's so much money in there that gets wasted. Pentagon has consistently failed audits. They won't even really allow the rest of the government to inspect how that money gets spent. It's honestly its own series if we were to go into it. But nevertheless, it seems as though that the war drum in America is being beaten right now. And I'm afraid that it will only continue. It seems like there's very few people who are speaking out in dissent, but I will highlight some voices that are. First, let's talk about Rashida Tlaib. We'll put this up on the screen, saying here that she is so sick. Remember that members of Congress are permitted to own stocks in war manufacturing. So when they vote to send more bombs or send our loved ones to war, they are profiting personally. And you can see that graph underneath there showing the different stocks that are actually going up right now. And also, speaking of money, this is from Sagar and Jetty, one of the co-hosts of the show Breaking Points, putting this up on the screen now. He was saying that given the interceptors used last time, we can roughly estimate that the cost of the Israel defense operation to approximately $100 million today. This is referencing underneath the fact that the U.S. Navy fired approximately a dozen interceptors against Iranian missiles heading towards Iran. So I misspoke there a second ago. I meant to say the Iranian missiles heading towards Israel. So this is kind of, again, highlighting the amount of money that we are dumping into a conflict that once again has nothing to do with us. And yet we are consistently sending money over to this country, a country that in fact is, by all accounts, provoking a lot of the conflicts that they consistently find themselves in. Now, this is also while Western North Carolina, as I'm sure plenty of you saw, is completely underwater, towns being washed away, people's entire livelihoods could be completely gone. Homes will never be, maybe like never be able to rebuild. Some of these towns are in complete devastation. And we're talking about like we may not be able to help some of these people. The reaction that Americans here at home get when crises happen here is we'll do the best we can, but there's no guarantees, and like we'll see what happens. The response abroad when it seems as though Israel needs help is no matter what it takes, we are going to find a way to make sure that you're okay. The the dichotomy here, when you look at the differences between how one set of people are being addressed, another set of people are being addressed, it honestly makes you ask the question, why is there such a disproportionate reaction comparing to two different groups of people? It doesn't make any sense to me. But the one thing I will say is that I am, again, happy to see that some people are speaking up in dissent. This is from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, saying that Netanyahu's invasion of Lebanon is putting millions of people at risk, forcing thousands to be displaced, and now inciting a regional war. This escalating violence must end in Lebanon and Gaza, across the region. Again, everyone, Joe Biden, if he wanted to, could end this today. He has that power. Israel is not able to defend itself against all of these different people in that region. If he wanted to, he could say, we will not continue to protect you unless you stop these aggressive actions, unless you have a ceasefire. If he did that, if he conditioned aid to them, they would have no choice but to stop these aggressive actions that they're having. They're only continuing to do so because they know that the United States will always show up to defend them, no matter what. Last thing I want to say about all of this, because this is going to be a developing situation. There's going to be a lot more about this over the coming days, weeks, months. I get the feeling that this is only just the beginning of what we're going to see between Iran and Israel, and what's also going to be developing in Lebanon and in Yemen and so on and so forth around that area. So there'll be plenty more to discuss in the coming days about all the different details that will be involved between these nations. But I want us to just point this out. I'm going to put this up on the screen. One of the best things I saw online today. It bears emphasizing as we descend into World War III that the only reason that this is happening is because the United States, under a Democratic president, refuses to stop supporting a belligerent ethno-state's quote unquote right to commit genocide against a population of imprisoned civilians. Beautifully stated, truthfully speaking. We have seen time and time again that what is happening, to the people in Gaza has triggered all of these different things. Hezbollah, the resistance group that was trying to like shoot rockets into Israel, was doing so, saying that we will stop if you stop attacking the people in Gaza. We've seen now Saudi Arabia refusing to have any kind of dealings with Israel until there is an established Palestinian state and a ceasefire in Gaza. We are now seeing several countries in Europe, like Spain and Belgium and Ireland, talking about ending relations with Israel until there's a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, Iran saying that they wouldn't retaliate for Israel striking inside of their country if there was a ceasefire in Gaza. And yet, Israel seeing all of that is like, no, forget all of that. We're just going to attack all of you and basically say, what are you going to do about it? And now that one country is firing back at them, now it seems like we're on the brink of war. Look, the United States probably wants to find a way to get the public to go along with this. They probably want us to be involved in this. By the United States, I'm saying certain members of our government. They actively have wanted this war for a long time. And I think that it's up to us, the people of this country, to say as much as we possibly can, as often as we possibly can, everywhere on social media, that we absolutely do not want this war. We do not want this war. Speak up, speak out, continue to say it. No one wants this war. No one, whether you're on the left for certain reasons or you're on the right for certain reasons, I think everyone can agree that no one wants another Middle Eastern war, especially one that would have such broad consequences. A war with Iran would be more devastating than anything we ever saw in Iraq or in Afghanistan. I mean, it might be Vietnam levels of bad. We do not want anything to do with this, and I hope that everyone will take the opportunity to speak out and say so, because if not, we might just be slow walked into the worst conflict that we've ever seen in our lifetime. If you liked this video, if you want to support the work that we're doing here at Independent Thought, please sign up for our Substack. That link can be found in the description of this episode. Please like this video to help it get shared with more people on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel for more videos in the future. Thank you for watching this video of independent thought. If you liked the conversation, please go ahead and give the video itself a like, and be sure to subscribe for future episodes on the channel.